Hello, and welcome to It Matters How We Treat One Another, the social psychology show. I'm your host, Matthew David Vasco. If you subscribe to this show on YouTube or your favorite podcasting platform, then thank you. We are grateful for each and every one of our subscribers. This episode features 30 ways to counter hate, so be sure to stay tuned for the main segment. But first, our inspiring news. If inspiring things are happening in your neck of the woods, like let's say you volunteered at a service activity in your community, or if you've been inspired by someone in your life, then please email me at mdvasco@gmail.com and let me know. This week's inspiring news comes from thehappynewspaper.com. Featured as one of their everyday heroes is the restaurant Eggs and Bread in England. The piece begins, quote, Eggs and Bread is a cafe like no other. Based in Walthamstow, East London, it boasts the smallest menu on Wood Street. Only boiled eggs, toast, jam, porridge, tea, and coffee are available. And it's self-service too. At the end of your meal, you pay what you like. End quote. The idea is to help ensure that every person in this area gets a warm breakfast. They have the donation box tucked away discreetly by where you deposit your dirty dishes so that people can't see how much or if you donate. If you can't afford to pay, that's fine. Or if you want to donate a little extra to help cover the cost of someone else's meal, then that's fine too. People the world over keep coming up with new and inventive ways to help those in need, and it's truly inspiring. Again, if you know of inspiring things happening in your area, please email me at mdvasco@gmail.com and let me know. Thanks. Up next is our feature segment. But first, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Some years ago, I was struggling with depression. I knew I was depressed, but I had a hard time asking for help. It seemed like a huge hurdle to figure out how to access therapy services, and the thought of opening up about my depression made me nervous. I eventually did get brave and sought help. Finally, starting therapy was such a relief because knowing I had a professional in my corner helped me start to feel better after even the very first session. Thankfully, BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. Fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. All you need to do is click the link in the description to get started. And BetterHelp is offering fans of this show 10% off your first month of therapy. All you have to do is visit betterhelp.com/itmatters. That's betterhelp.com/itmatters. And now our feature segment. It seems like the more episodes I do of this show, the more I realize I am passionate about a lot of things in the realm of social psychology. And I feel like I have been building up to this particular episode for a long time. When I started what is now It Matters How We Treat One Another on Facebook back in July of 2018, I did it largely as a reaction to hatred that I saw spreading both online and in society. The tipping point for me was when a place I was working at the time, which had both a school and a church on its campus, was leafleted with a variety of hate-filled flyers from a white supremacist website. This led me to research the website, and I was surprised by how well organized it was and by how it seemed to be targeting young people by making hate look fun. I thought, if hate is getting organized, then I want to help on the other side. I want to help on the side of love. I want to speak out against this hate. And that was really the impetus for what has now become the social media platform and podcast. It matters how we treat one another. So, this episode is about countering hate. Really, I want to admit right up front, the purpose of this episode is to encourage more people to join with me in countering hate. It is truly something that we all can do in big and small ways. And my goal with this segment is to load you up with lots of ideas about how to counter hate and inspiration to go out and do it yourself. The first thing I want to say is that hate is hate. Hate is hate is hate. It doesn't matter if it is rooted in an ideology or viewpoint, or even if the person is prejudiced, intolerant, or hateful on the basis of their morality. Hate is wrong. Hate leads to hurting people, and hurting people is wrong. So we all need to speak out against hate. I researched in a variety of places, including with our friends at greatergood.berkeley.edu, United Nations, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I think I have now the most comprehensive list of ways to counter hate. Without further ado, here are 30 things you can do to counter hate. One, the very first thing you can do online is report offensive content. If someone is speaking hate on a platform, then let the people who run that platform know. On Facebook, for example, there are simple options you can click to report hate. Most places don't want to support hate speech. Two, counter hate speech with love speech. Share positive stories about targeted groups and cultures other than your own. Three, don't hate the haters. It's not constructive. Instead, counter their hate with facts. Fact check misinformation and wrong-headed rhetoric. Provide reliable resources to back up your statements. 4. React. Do not remain silent. Silence implies agreement. You have to speak up to let hateful people know that they are wrong and that you do not agree with them. Remain calm and logically state your case. 5. Challenge hateful rhetoric and misinformation. Help ensure that hate is not the dominant narrative by sharing a positive message that spreads tolerance, equality, and truth. 6. Stand up with people who are targeted by hate. When targeted groups march with them to show that we all have a responsibility to stand up against hate. 7. Report threats of violence. Don't take violent threats lightly. Report them to the police. Authorities need to be made aware of threats of violence in order to take appropriate action. 8. Advocate for responsible and respectful speech and behavior. Share campaigns aimed at countering hate speech. Educate family and friends about our shared responsibility to stand up to hate. 9. Commit. Join a nonprofit organization that works to counter hate in your community. Join UNICEF USA, Amnesty International, or your local chapter of the United Nations. 10. Celebrate other cultures. Attend festivals, community events, and film series that celebrate and honor cultures other than your own. Bring your children and teach them to love other cultures too. Turn it into a family event. 11. Teach kindness and tolerance. Prejudices are not innate, they are learned traits. Counter hate at an early age by teaching children to be kind, respectful, empathetic, and compassionate to all people. 12. Stand up for others. If you see someone being bullied or attacked, do what you can to disrupt it. Ask the person who is being targeted if they need help. Calmly ally with the person or call for help. 13. Be the first to speak up. Social psychology studies show that when situations erupt, people look around them for cues about how to respond. Give the people around you the cue that they need to speak up or take action when hate rears its ugly head. 14. Work on building up your courage. Take small steps, which will lead to larger and larger steps. Do one thing to stand up to hate, and then another and another. Visualize yourself taking action in situations where no one else is, so that if that type of situation presents itself, you will be ready. 15. Ask for help when you need it. Be careful not to put yourself in harm's way, and remember there is safety in numbers. The more those of us who are speaking up ask others to join us, the more people will be involved. 16. Find role models. Look at the people around you who are taking action and speaking up and join them or model your actions after theirs. 17. Make new friends with people who are different than you. Get to know all sorts of people and make friends with people who have different identities and backgrounds than your own. 18. Wear a pin or button that shows solidarity with people targeted by hate. Let them know that you are their ally and ask them what they really need in terms of support. That's a big one. Some people say, be a co conspirator or an accomplice. This means to go even a step further than being an ally. Really get involved. 19. Press the mental pause button. Be careful about not getting so caught up in your own day to day business that you accidentally ignore someone in need. When you see something happening, pause. Take a moment from your busy day and ask yourself, does that person need help? 20. Support victims of hate. Let victims know you care. Surround them with love and care. Do whatever you can to help ensure that they do not become victims again. 21. Report hate crimes. If you are the victim of a hate crime, report it to the authorities. Be specific and share as many details as you can. 22. Speak up. If news reports are covering hate, ask for equal time to speak up on behalf of unity, equality, inclusion, and diversity. 23. Keep educating yourself. Make an effort to learn more about everything from the hate you are working to counter to the people and groups affected by that hate. Learn the difference between a hate crime and a bias incident. 24. Hold a unity rally. If a hate group is hosting a rally in your area, then create an alternative event for people to attend. Draw the media's attention away from the hate rally. 25. Pressure leaders. Write and call your government officials and encourage them to stand up for targeted groups. Some of them will need to overcome their fear of taking action, and others will need to overcome their own biases. 20. Stay engaged. This is something we all need to keep at. So, find ways to stay engaged with countering hate. Promote tolerance and acceptance. Follow It Matters How We Treat One Another on Facebook and Instagram. We share something almost every day that counters hate, even if it's as simple as kindness. 27. Host an equity and inclusion event. This is especially important if you're a middle school, high school, or college student. You have the power to change hearts and minds. You will be reaching your peers at an age when they are most susceptible to hate groups. 28. Search inside yourself. Do your own work to rid yourself of biases and stereotypes. This type of inner work is a long process and takes time and patience with ourselves. Keep at it. 29. Practice mindfulness and meditation. These practices can help us learn to remain calm in high pressure situations. You will be happier with how you handle yourself when you are confronting hate if you are able to remain calm and not be provoked. 30. Finally, heed the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." As we often post on our page, we've got to love the hate out of this world. Keep practicing love, and together we can create a more loving world and a brighter future for everyone. To close this segment, I want to be clear about something. You might need to get a little righteously angry in order to work up the courage to stand up to hate. This is not hate. I'm going to say that again. Standing up to hate is not hate, even if you do it boldly. The haters are going to try to convince you that your anger is as bad as their anger. And that is simply not the case. Anger in the name of standing up to hate is completely justified and at times necessary. So when you see hateful words or deeds and it provokes you to take action and speak up against them, that's good. That's a good thing. Don't be talked out of your courageous action in speaking up against hate. Be strong. Be bold. Take nonviolent action. Thank you, and good luck. This brings us to the end of this episode of It Matters How We Treat One Another. Please subscribe to keep up with all our episodes, and you can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/itmatterspatrons or by shopping our Etsy store at etsy.com/shop/itmattersmerch. There are links in the description. We just added a bunch of new products to our merch store, so be sure to check it out again, even if you've been there in the past. Your quote of the week is, quote, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of their skin or their background or their religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, then they can learn to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." End quote. That's from Nelson Mandela. And remember, treat everyone with kindness, respect, empathy, and compassion, and try for love and acceptance whenever possible. Be well, and much love to you all.